You have to be holding a ball. You got to be holding a ball. Those fingers got to be so curved. Have you ever heard this before? But why? Why? Why do my fingers have to be curved when I'm playing the piano? Why can I not play the piano with flat fingers? I'm Robert Monroe, and this is part of my series of videos called But Why? And it's the truth. When it comes to music specifically, well, not music specifically, music broadly and piano specifically, people throw out all these things and they never really fully explain it. A lot of times that's because you're 5, but sometimes it's just because they don't actually know. And it's not that I know all the answers, but I have this big problem, which is if you just tell me to do something and you don't give me a reason to do it, I'm probably just not going to do it. So let's talk about the truth. Why is this the normal way that people just say that your hand needs to be when you play the piano? What is true about that? And also what is not true about that? What things are good about having curved fingers and what things are also not so good about having curved fingers. So first, let's get into the why a bit. I think the main reason why we talk about having curved fingers on the piano has to do with making sure that we have a good bit of finger strength to push down, and then also formalizing and kind of articulating how is best to play the piano. A lot of this stuff has to do with this idea of like, hey, we need to formalize this and we need to get everybody doing the same thing, because that way we can lead to really good results. Now, let's talk about some of the reasons why curving your fingers is both generally a good idea and also why it's sort of the normal thought process. The first one, and I think honestly this is one of the strongest arguments that can be made, is if you just relax your hand and just sort of wiggle out your hands by your side and then pick your hand up, guess what? That's the shape. And in my personal opinion, this natural shape that you get should be what you're going for on piano. It should not be this, grab a ball shape. People say sometimes, yeah, you should be grabbing a ball. Don't be grabbing a tennis ball. That's going to curve your fingers too much. You just want to be thinking about that relaxed shape. Honestly, I think relaxed biomechanics is probably the best way to think about playing. I like the idea of if you were a high-speed photographer and you were just taking pictures of a pianist all the time playing the piano, what would their hand look like? If it ever looked weird, then you'd go, that's not going to work. That's not going to be very good. So we've got that curved finger shape. And again, like I said, you can really work on that by making yourself relax your hands and then picking your hand up without engaging your fingers at all. And you pretty much always end up getting that. Then you can practice putting your hand down on the piano and feeling it out on the keys. And then you can drop your fingers one at a time and practice keeping your fingers down. This will give you a really relaxed, really articulate, and clean piano technique. But it's going to take a long time. And here's why. It's because it's really hard to fire off one finger at a time. If you notice, even when I'm moving my middle finger, do you see what's happening with the other fingers? They're moving too. Why? Well, that's because all your fingers are kind of connected together. They don't really operate independently except for probably your thumb, right? So they all use each other. Finger independence as an idea is kind of dumb. It doesn't actually work. But through massive amounts of training, you can achieve each finger dropping on its own. Okay, we just talked about biomechanically, yada, yada, yada. Again, take it all with a grain of salt. I'm a musician and a pianist. I've been doing that for a really long time. I have not been studying biomechanics. So if anything rings untrue and you're a biomechanist, I don't know, biologist probably would be a better name, a doctor, then feel free to throw it in the comments below. Let's talk about thing number 2 that I think makes sense about curving fingers. If you think about an arch, why does an arch work so well? It's because when you put load on an arch anywhere on this arch, the load transfers to either end of the arch, right? Well, that curved finger shape kind of does the same thing with our arm weight. When we push down on the key, if we want that weight to go through our hand into the note, that curved shape will really allow us to transduce that load quite well into the piano, giving us a nice, effective, weighty sound. Something that you'll see a lot in beginner students that I really do try to correct is this shape. This broken knuckle here, I think, can lead, notice what I said, can lead to sort of a soft, mushy sound as the weight is not actually effectively transduced there. So they're going to have to use some level of tension or other device to slow their hand down as opposed to letting all that weight juicily drop into the key. Notice how I said can, and that's because that leads us to all the why nots, and that is you can do anything. You really can do anything. Yes, I know, I just made you watch for 6 minutes for me just to say play the piano how you feel like playing the piano. But the truth is, any hand shape really will do. You can play the piano with perfectly flat fingers. You really can. You can play the piano with super curved fingers. There are tons of amazing pianists that do both. I do want to throw one more thing in the camp of curved fingers. If you notice, I have really long fingers. So if I play with curved fingers, my thumb doesn't even touch the keyboard if I'm playing in any comfortable shape. So because of that, I tend to want to curve my fingers. But on the flip side, if I curve my fingers too much, my fingers are so fat in their width that they barely fit between the keys, which means that I really do like staying near the end of these keys. So what ends up happening? Oh, wait, I go back to a natural finger shape, a natural hand shape, which is mostly curved, but it's not really that curved. That's really what ends up working. Now, you may go, hey, you just genetically have like perfect piano hands, and that may actually be true, but given your hand size and your finger shape, my guess is you're going to find yourself on one end of the spectrum or the other. For some people, really flat fingers is going to feel great, and there's nothing wrong with that. For other people, fairly curved fingers is going to feel great. So what does that all lead us to in terms of how you should play the piano? And that is, you should start with the common consensus. This is similar probably to the conclusion of every single one of these But Why videos, which is you should start with the common consensus. What is the common consensus? You should have your fingers curved a little bit. Try not to have your knuckles break, right? That's the common consensus. But don't end the story there. If that feels uncomfortable, if you've tried it a while and it just doesn't quite seem to work, hopefully you've got a really nice teacher who is educated, who's seen Vladimir Horowitz play before, and Richter, and all these amazing pianists, and knows how different piano technique can look. And then they can teach you the fundamentals and then advise for your own specific biomechanics. Think about it a bit like working out. You know, some people are like, hey, tuck the elbows in when you do curls. And then other people are like, no, that hurts my elbows. Hey, skull crushers are a great exercise. No, actually, I get all this joint and tendon pain. Guess what? Our bodies are different. And it's okay to do slightly different exercise paths and on the same way, slightly different hand shapes and achieve incredible results. I'm Robert Monroe. If you enjoy this video, please like, subscribe, comment below about whatever you want to comment about. And until next time, thanks so much for watching. See you later.